Some of you probably noticed that and got very interested in that Dragon Ball Z fan fiction that I showed you. Um, Dragon Ball Z was very inspirational to me as a kid. It's one of my top favorite animes. I read all the manga. I like the way the manga's appeal was, but the art style, it was pretty decent. But my actual favorite is as far as art styles go, is Claymore, the manga. Um, but I'll show you just this first chapter of how I did this, and this was actually made all the way back when I'd say, had to be about 17, 16, 17. I didn't actually start reading manga till about 16 or 17, but most of the ideas that I got for actually making comics came from just watching anime. I've been watching anime since probably about fourth grade. I was about 10 years old. But I'll go ahead and show you some examples of some of the themes and ideas and principles that I just showed in my last video. Yeah, I actually made a a title chapter. Now, as you can see how it starts off, there's some dialogue. The panel isn't all that big. Have words, sound effects, because those are actually quite important when setting the atmosphere for a comic. Um, this was very premature towards what I do now, so everything looks scattered. There's no background. At that time, I was very weak towards backgrounds. I'm quite weak towards backgrounds now, actually. And like how I said, first we have a panel which starts to show urgency. Speed line, I have effect lines behind the character to show that to bring urgency to the readers so they think that, ooh, something's about to happen. And then I reserved a bigger space on the page for the big panel. There's a blast actually coming at him and he blocks it. He even makes a word. And then you have boring sound effects. One thing I actually learned about you have a boring word sound effect. One thing I actually learned is you actually need to put the sound effects in front of what's happening, because now it actually looks covered and you can't actually really tell what's happening. These are some of the things, some of the mistakes I actually made when I was younger in drawing comics. Flip the page, then have some dialogue which he talks about how he evaded the attack. No, he's not in Super Saiyan mode. I actually just didn't like the color a lot. And you have some more words, some more sound effect words. One thing that you can also do is, now that I've actually learned how to make sound effect words better, is you don't have to make them all the same and stagnant. You can make certain letters bigger than the others, just to rise the appeal of the panel. Because you can't ignore any panels. Like certain panels may be smaller than others, but none of them are to actually be ignored or thought to be of no value. Each one has its own value. Some may be more valuable than others, but each one has its own each value, so you can't neglect it. Then the girl was actually a stomach, as you can see, and it's read from left to right. I actually should have mentioned this a while ago. Mine are from left to right because I grew up in America. I read left to right, so that's just how I do things. You can make yours right to left if you want to, or left to right, whichever you prefer. It's just easier for me because I read from left to right. Then he talks about how he's hungry. Then minutes later, these are actually good to do sometimes too. They actually save yourself on dialogue, and they also bring time and slight bit of atmosphere towards what's happening. How does it bring atmosphere? Sometimes if a character is doing a task, you can, without really changing what kind of day it is, or drawing a background, like from sunset, or drawing it being nighttime. Like if a character is in a cave, there's no light in the cave, you can say hours later or minutes later, and it'll actually explain how there's actually time progression. And then it turns out Should have colored this all dark around the character so that it actually shows that he's still in the cave. But like I said, I really didn't like doing backgrounds or color back then. I still actually don't, but now I'm actually better at them, so I can actually accomplish that. He talks about how maybe the only one to free us, blah blah blah. In the next page, have a guy that's introduced. Of course, back when I was younger, I didn't think about saying people's names, so he explains himself, because you don't always want to leave everything open to question when you're making a comic. Certain things, they're actually not so important, so you can just leave them be. And he's flying. You can see there's a city and buildings. More of my bad background drawings. Some clouds, some more of my bad background drawings. And you can see this could have been drawn better. I could draw it better now, but I tried to get the slight foreshortening right by making his head bigger here and then making his limbs smaller because they're further into the background. And that's Ryoko from Tenchi Muyo. I do not own that character. I do not own that anime. Did not create it or anything like that. But I actually added her in because I liked that female character a lot back then. And it's actually my character's girlfriend, so won't be any surprise about that. There was a knock on the other page if any of you noticed. And there's some dialogue explaining what's up. And she's up and moving. Comes out the door. I could have, if I had thought about it, I could have actually presented that better. And then the next panel goes, the character talks. He forgot to tell them about Ryoko. Then he curses a bit. Then he transforms into Super Saiyan. I actually used to draw it as if it was pin up with all the glares on the hair and stuff like that. Now, because sometimes you can actually use a character's dialogue to portray a more suspenseful moment to set it up. Like as you can see, he talks and he actually has a surprised look on his face as if something's about to happen. That actually can give a reader the idea that something imminent is about to happen. Imminent means like I'll look that up. As I was saying, he transforms and then he goes faster, and I even made a word sound effect here. There's some water on the ground, more of my bad background drawings. It's not so bad, but they can be a lot better. Then here's where the fight starts. It zooms back to where they were. One thing I was better at is my fighting scenes, and but they were held back by my backgrounds. Sometimes when you're drawing, you actually want to have a more balanced way of drawing rather than being good at one thing, rather than being good at more things rather than being great at one thing. As you can see, then when I started drawing the fighting scenes, the panels got bigger because I used more space because it's a more urgent kind of event happening, more urgent situation happening. She actually talks about what's happening. Zooming in on the dialogue just in case some of you want to read it. Yes, it was self-insertion. The main character shares my name. And that's one of the opponents. It's actually, in the story, it's actually my father. His name is Quinku. And as you can, let's flip back to the last page right quick. See him shoot a Kamehameha blast. And since I was very used to the way anime presented things, I tried to make it in a way as if I were watching anime. Now the character does knock it out of the way, but The way I would have done that now is I would have actually shown Ryoko into the panel and my character coming from above and actually showing more of my character punching it out the way. Although the sound effect actually makes it urgent enough, but I could have actually drawn it better. I actually would have made the frame itself bigger than the panel itself bigger than I would have. Then my character comes in. You can see that he's angry, so by that you can tell it's not resolved. Then they challenge each other. And there's some dialogue. If you notice, the frames got smaller because they're not fighting so much, and it's not as urgent as the actual battle appeal. Some of my lame sound effect words. Then you have him powering up. He's going Super Saiyan. Character lands. You know how that Dragon Ball Z, where they land on one foot. And as you can see, I made this panel very big because there was quite a bit of dialogue. I could have shortened it up, but I wanted a dynamic view, a character staring off into another one, kind of like what I've done in what I explained in my other video about Madara seeing Sasuke. Then there's dialogue. I'll just do it quick. You can pause the video and read it if you want. And I'll stop this video at this point and pick it up in a part 2 because it's actually getting quite long and I can't upload it all like this on YouTube.